Welcome to the Sweet and Sassy Show podcast. Jen Carpenter and Molly Lowe. We are recording here today for episode number 29, which is going to be coming out April 10th. The topic today we decided was going to be about restoring faith and renewing self-trust. And when we came to conversate a little bit before we get going here today, we're going to roll with the topics that have arisen. Molly and I are super happy to no longer be part of the corporate world, and she's had an interesting journey of like taking on a corporate contracts. We just got started on this topic today, but it'll all tie in together. I do still do PT about 20 hours a week, but I am for like a private practice that I don't deal with all the corporate world things. Like I don't even have a work email. So if like after a year of being there, I was like, oh, I don't come in and check my work email anymore or respond to the corporate bullshit. And that's great. And then what also is super awesome is not having meetings about meetings with no agenda or things like that. But let's go to really the main point is that it's honoring your commitments to yourself and like the choices that we make always rely on connecting back to our values and what's most important for us. So I'll let Molly take it away based on what she was talking about today that sparked this conversation, and we're going to tie it all together.
100%. You know what's so funny is I had my CEO day yesterday, and one of the journal prompts that I stumbled across. I was rereading one of my books, as we've talked about. I'm in the midst of rereading my books, and I thought to myself, okay, so there's a sentence that's a part of this book that says like the law of faith, and it says, it's having faith in God, faith in yourself, faith in your goal, and faith in your ability. Okay. And that's essentially the law of faith. Okay. So again, let me just make sure I'm quoting
I
this.
was just going to
I
say
love
it
to
one more
quote it.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
God Works Through Faith by Dr. Robert A. Russell. And I am going to pull up the page for y'all. It,
God, self, something,
yes.
inability.
Yep, it's on page 15 and it says the law of faith. According to your faith in God, your faith in yourself, your faith in your goal, and your faith in your ability gets you the results, right? And so I
Perfect.
thought, right?
Of
Like,
course,
literally,
that's what you're talking
yes,
about.
literally was what I was reading yesterday during my CEO day. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
what a fun way for me to just lovingly challenge my own mindset to faith. And what I've come to notice is faith is essentially in simplest terms just trust. That's what that is. It's trusting and really trusting without seeing, right? First, right?
Ha, yes.
Without having the evidentiary support, and without and quite frankly without the guarantee of what you're gonna get in doing something, hence why we're entrepreneurs. So long story short, I started writing down like, okay, if I had faith, aka full trust, without guarantees, without having to know what was next, without knowing the ultimate end goal, how would I show up if I truly had faith and trust in God? Like, what kind of results would I be able to achieve? What kind of results would I be able to achieve if I truly trusted in me and my ability and my goals, right? Like, what would that look like? And fast forward, I've noticed that to this episode topic and tying this back to corporate, 6 years ago, when I left my corporate job full time, I really didn't even know what faith was at that time, right? I had the simple concept of what it was, but I really didn't truly have faith in my ability, faith in my goal, faith in God, and faith in myself. And so today, it's just so awesome. Like it that now I know myself so well because I have faith and trust in myself that I'm like, I know what I'm meant to do and I know what I'm not meant to do. And I'm so grateful for this corporate contract. Like, of course, like who doesn't, right? Like, great. Molly's got this corporate client. It's amazing. And the most beautiful thing about this, like I was just telling you, I get to call the shots. I am way too damn bossy to be taking anyone else's direction. I need flexible structure. I need autonomy. And quite frankly, if we're talking trust, I truly need the trust from whoever I'm working with, whether it's my clients, my partners, whether it's this client, to trust that like Molly's gonna show up. She's gonna do her job. She's gonna do it well. But I'm really not meant to be in this 40-hour a week kind of job doing things that on the outside might look real productive. No, like I know what productivity looks like for me. And what I can create and generate in 1 hour is never ever going to be equivalent to if you stuck Molly Lowe back into a corporate 40-hour a week job, like 9 to 5. There's no way. There's no way. And I just know myself. There's that trust and that faith in my ability, and to just say, I trust the process. I trust myself. The things that come across my way are here for a reason. I'm learning from it, and it's just further confirmation that this is the right.
And the topic that we were on was productive use of time, like you said, flexible structure, systems, having an agenda for a conversation, having a process, like what is the outcome of this meeting? Why are we doing what we're doing right now? But it all goes back to knowing and trusting the value that you provide. So in entrepreneurship, it is not dollars for hours. That is the employee mindset. And so, like, what Molly is worth to hang out with these people for 1 hour is way different than their perspective of how valuable that hour of time is. We'll just put it that way. Even in my PT space that I am still in, it's expected to be a therapist, change out my tables, market our services, all of that. That is not the full value of what I'm worth. Like for that, you know, that's a lot of hats being worn in that 1 hour that people spend with me and the value that I provide. They're very, very different. So, nonetheless, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I chose me a couple of years ago. And so that has led me to where I am today, that and truly believing in the value of that is my point. So, with everything I'm talking about, you know, having faith and full trust, like you said, too, without being fully prepared and not knowing, too. I like how you mentioned that, not knowing how things will play out. That's when you make decisions, you don't know 100% what this opportunity might bring. You made a decision to take this corporate contract, trusting and believing that it would all work out however it's supposed to, even without knowing all of the details and being fully prepared. And I just bring that up because it's something that keeps coming up over and over at networking events, in conversations. We think that we need to be fully prepared. And here I am talking about having a structure. I like to talk about the two contrasts of things. Having a structure and a plan for a meeting, but flexible flow that it may go differently than you expect, but you're also still going to receive exactly whatever you needed because you know what the purpose of the meeting was. It may change as you go and evolve, but still we're going to have a defined outcome at the end of this meeting and a next action step of what we're going to take forward. But just like to really highlight how important it is that, yeah, you can be structured, have these processes, but also allowing that aspect of flow and knowing that things will work out exactly how they're supposed to, even if you're not fully prepared and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. That alone is powerful in its own.
Yeah, I love that you talk a little bit about the decision making. And what I was just actually saying to one of my clients on a business critique, I said to her, I said, you're a lot of us, we get a lot of like just fear and hesitation and what ifs and like, just doubt when we have to make a decision. And it's just a friendly reminder to say, okay, but what would your future highest self be saying right now? What kind of decision would she be making at this point? And so I just love it because my clients are so good. Like in one in particular, shout out to Tessa. She's like, that's a future. This is her term, and so I want to give her credit. She said, "This is a future self problem," and
Yeah,
I
I
said,
think you said
"Amen,
that. Yeah.
sister." Like, because it is. Like, why worry about something right now? You just need to make a decision that is aligned for you. Does this feel good for you? Does this align with what you have on your goals? Does this allow for you to be you, right? And to be in your zone of genius. And at the end of the day, if this is what you want, go for it. Like, don't worry about what's going to happen next. Like your future self, your higher self will deal with that when it gets there. You'll jump that fence when we get there. But it's always easier said than done. Always.
Well, so, and I like that you're saying that because I had this conversation yesterday. And to be honest, I've had this conversation in a couple different ways already today. So, again, always super aligned. But what I wanted to bring up is that I say when you show up for you, the rest takes care of itself because everything comes down to each decision that you make. It gets easier and easier every time to choose you. So at first, it's uncomfortable. You decide, okay, I'm going to put this boundary in place. It's uncomfortable. But then once you do it, for example, this one person, she had handled things differently, showed up differently than she normally would. And then the next time she was around her family, she said, I couldn't believe how differently I carried myself after that boundary was put in place and how different the people around me were responding to me. So my point is the how great the impact is from acknowledging one pattern, one resistance of why you choose to do what you do. When you simply acknowledge what's going on in the moment and you decide, okay, this is the decision I want to make, and I'm going to continue to do that ongoing. I'm going to choose me, whatever that is, whatever the value or the boundary is you're dealing with. How great just that one awareness, that one decision, that one powerful choice, how great the impact is. And then every time after that, it gets easier and easier every time to choose you and make, as I say, empowered, aligned decisions. So once you know what you know, there's no turning back. I've said it before, I'll say it again. One of my main mantras, I've only swayed from it twice. Doing what's best for me is what's best for me and my children. And I walked through this scenario with the person the other day that it didn't go the way she expected. I said, well, in that initial moment, did you choose you? Well, no. I went back to my old people pleasing ways and my old patterns. Well, you know now that that didn't serve you well. You were exhausted. Your children didn't get the best version of you, even though you thought you were doing what was best for everybody else or your children, but you really weren't. You weren't really doing what was best for your children because you didn't do what was best for you. So the fact that that's why that identification and that mantra has been so powerful for me, and I think it could be used for anyone who has children, is doing what's best for me is what's best for me and my children. Because if you don't choose you, the result isn't going to be good for anyone. There's no way. Anytime I sway from it, it doesn't work out. It doesn't go well. Something goes awry. So either way, just how much impact and the fact that it gets easier and easier every time to make those decisions when you know who you are and what you want. And then when you sway from it, it's okay. You recognize, hey, I didn't follow what was best for me. And you spend some time on forgiveness, forgiving yourself for making the choice that you made, and that's okay. It's a lesson learned. You look at the lesson learned and you choose to do differently next time. Like that is the process of everything. My whole system is all daily, weekly reflection and what is the lesson learned and what am I going to do differently next time? It's asking questions. Asking questions. What's the resistance? What's the barrier? What am I trying to fulfill here in this need? Whatever it is, asking lots of questions. So,
I love that. I love that. I think too, when you said it's knowing who you are and what you want. And that's one of the things that I think we've even talked about on the podcast maybe earlier on is
Oh yeah.
I feel like those two questions are forever continuous questions, like you said, that
Yep.
I ask for myself, like, who am I becoming? And what do I want? Because both of those things are fluid and they'll evolve and they'll change depending on where you are in your journey. And so I find myself, for those of you who are tuning in and you're thinking to yourself, okay, but have I sat with myself for a second to really think about who I am today and who I want to become moving forward and what do I want? I actually make it a point every quarter when I do my quarterly business review to look again at what I want. Is
Hmm.
this what I still want? Is this really truly what I want in life? Is this what I want in business? And who am I becoming? Am I becoming a better, more authentic, unapologetic version of me? Or am I finding that there's parts where, like you said, like I'm finding, oh, I people pleased here, or I
Uh-huh.
still kind of felt guilty about doing this or doing that, and I
Hmm.
still, I still offered to, I had someone inquire about my services, even though I know they're not a right fit, but I decided, let's give them a go anyway, right? Not all money is good money. Those are the things that just as you said, with practice, it becomes abundantly clear when it's misaligned for you because you're like, oh, I did that out of integrity. I did that because I felt like I had to for people pleasing or whatnot. So, this is your friendly reminder. If you're tuning in and you haven't really checked in on what you want and who you are, now is the time to take a few moments. If you could take more than a few minutes, great. But really just delegate some time on your calendar to reflect back on who am I? Who do I want to start becoming? And what do I want? What do I want?
I think I'm going to start sharing it. I have a personal assessment that we do every 6 weeks. So, in general, one way or another, I'll share it. But it's looking at all aspects, physically, mentally, materialistically, personally, spiritually, all the different aspects of where am I at. So, you check in on a daily basis and in the moment, where am I at? So what you're talking about is more of like a quarterly type of thing, is what I'm saying. Checking in on all aspects. Are things all still aligned? Where am I at with this? Is it better than it was? What area? Then that's your area of focus. You might need a little more work in that. You might need to put a little more energy and effort into, self-care, physically, whatever that is. But the in the moment part, I just want to go into that again because that is where the real power lies. When you can acknowledge in the moment how it actually, this is the most important part, is feeling in your body. Okay. We don't tend to take enough time. When this person was making these decisions, her heart was racing. She felt sick. She knew in the moment that the answers that she was saying were not aligned. So we ignore how our body feels. We ignore what our gut is actually telling us. Our body is speaking to us, and we tend not to pay attention to it. So, like when something doesn't feel right, we're just usually ignoring the signals. And we're good. That's how we're like reverting back to what's best for other people because we're ignoring what our body's telling us. Our mind is probably speaking and being like, oh, this isn't, doesn't align with my future self, my self that I'm becoming. But it's also in the moment, paying attention to how it's feeling in your body. I'll give one more example here before we add some other things and wrap up. Um, I went out for my mom's birthday, and basically, she could tell that I was carrying myself differently based on how I was responding to the other people with us. Okay, we're not all at the same experience level. I like to call it that very specifically for a reason. Everything is just experiences. They're not good, they're bad, or positive or negative. Everything is just an experience, right? So at this lunch experience, I had to very much so keep my calm composure and just show up as me. But I could tell across the table, my mom just kept kind of looking at me and shaking her head, sort of. She knew that I was doing everything in my power to stay in my level, in my zone, and like not let the other stuff going on around me to affect me. she could tell. So not in a bad way or anything, but like my energy is different. The room can feel your energy is different. And it wasn't like uncomfortable, but I could tell they could tell without me saying a damn word, is my point. I was just like, do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That is what quiet confidence is, and calm and staying aligned with what is true to you. Because I didn't want to be like appear rude, right? I just kept smiling and just being myself and not giving the kind of what could have been discomfort any energy. I just was staying aligned to be true with myself. And I was just like, I'm not gonna go there. Like, and it felt so relieving, I guess is my point. So relieving to not be like mentally and physically exhausted from being in a situation that would normally cause me more fatigue and exhaustion from just taking all that on. Other people's energy and misaligned chaos, if you will, to be honest. So maybe they'll be seeing this in the future. But either way, I love them. I love them all dearly. I do. I love them all dearly. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay to show up for you. It's okay to do you. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. As I said before, many people told me, have just said for years, F everyone else. And it still stands true to this day. Stick to your commitments to yourself. It's a much better way to live. And if that's how other people want to live, let them be. It's all good. We don't have to let it affect our energy.
I love that example. Good for you. Good for you. And I love that you said, it's still it's not about whether I love you or not, right? Like the love is there, but
Exactly.
I understand. As entrepreneurs, we naturally are just the black sheep of our families because people don't quite get it. And that's
They
okay,
don't. They
And
don't. They
so
don't. And that's okay. They don't
it
know
is.
what we know.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
really don't. I have a family member that had just texted me about something too, and they ended up like, I don't talk to them very often, but she called and texted me like two or three times in 5 minutes. And I was like, I do not need to respond to that right now at all. I am working. And so I was like, I'll get back to that later. But I was like, holy smokes, crazy person. I was just like, wow, they must need something. Something is urgent. And it isn't really that urgent. We'll just go with that. That is not an emergency, and I did not need to address that right now. I am working. I am working, and that's okay. Nobody's feelings are going to be hurt. It's not an emergency.
That's a future Gen problem.
Uh-huh, exactly. Oh,
Right?
so last
Full
thing
circle.
before you want to add something else too. This person today, I quite often have been talking about now, stepping into your next level identity. That is celebrity Jen Carpenter. So even talking to him, he naturally said, as I'm stepping into this next level identity of who I was meant to be, he said something like that. Like, and I was like,
Hmm.
yes, we need to come up with that name for you. Who is the name of your next level identity? So we didn't determine it in the moment, but again, something that has come up several times already today is that having that name for yourself and who you're becoming, who you were always meant to be, super, super empowering. I think it's been brought up on the past few podcasts anyways, and even podcasts that I've been on. So it is like the way to do it. Having that I want to say persona of that person, but not really. Like it's who you really are, but that persona of that next level. What would this version of me do, say, and what is my higher level version of me? What would they think about what I'm thinking, feeling, and doing right now as well? What would they
Absolutely.
say about it? Like,
Yeah.
does this align? That's a good way to look at it too. Does this align? And what would they say about what you're thinking, feeling, or doing right now? And then you're like, oh, probably not good things if it's, that type of scenario.
Yeah, I love that because I too gave a name to my highest self. It just seems a lot more tangible. It's not
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
imaginary friend, right? Like this is
Mm-hmm.
you, this is who you're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll leave us with this. It reminds
Yes.
me, I saw a video that is so stuck with me. Oh no, it was a podcast. It was a podcast I was listening to when I was getting ready. And she said, just think about the person that you just love, just wholeheartedly, completely unconditionally. And I immediately thought about my nephews. They are 1 and 3 years old, and they are just my light. They my the 3 year old is kids say the darndest things. He says what he sees. It is matter of fact. He does not lie. He says and it's so funny, and I just love them. And she said, I just want for you to think about how much your love runs exceptionally deep for that person or the people that you say you love. And then
Mm-hmm.
she said, that love that you feel for them is exactly the type of love that you should have for yourself.
Uh-huh. Love your best friend.
Yes. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so true. Oh. And I'm like, of course we have self-love, right? But like at that deep of a level, and it just resonated with me so much of like,
Totally.
who we're becoming, this whole self-trust, self-love, the faith part of it really is. I think sometimes, and I'm speaking for myself here, I feel like I cap my level of love for me. I'm like, oh, I just need about like this much
No,
of
no,
love,
no.
But when she said it that way, of like, no, the way that you love your nephews, from that like having to just snuggles to hugs to kisses to all of the things, and they just light up your world, is exactly how you need to be loving and seeing yourself. And that stuck with me for the last week. And so I just wanted to share that in case anybody
I'm
else.
gonna wrap up just because I think my battery might die. Are you here? Can
Yep,
you hear me
yep,
okay? Okay.
yep,
So, oh my gosh. We will wrap up here, and so join us for the second Friday of every month. Can you hear me?
yep.
Okay. Join us on the second Friday of every month for the Sweet and Sassy Show. This is for April, and thank you for joining us today. Leave a comment below for what stood out for you, and we'll continue this conversation next time.